The woman who rises after every fall understands this rhythm. She does not see herself as broken when she stumbles. She sees herself as unfolding. Each fall is a moment of transformation, a shedding of what no longer serves her, and a stepping stone toward her true self. She knows that life is not a straight path. It is a dance, a beautiful, chaotic, unpredictable dance. And when she falls, she does not cling to the ground or curse the misstep. She breathes. She feels. And then she rises with more grace, more wisdom, more courage than before. Failure is often seen as a negative experience, something to be avoided at all costs. We fear it, we dread it, and we sometimes let it define us when it occurs. But what if failure wasn't something to be avoided, but rather embraced as an integral part of the journey of life? What if each failure was not a mark of weakness, but a sign of progress, a vital step toward growth and self-improvement? In life, we encounter setbacks, disappointments, and moments when things do not go as planned. These moments of failure are often viewed as obstacles, but what if they were simply detours, guiding us to better things? Failure is a necessary and natural part of any process, whether in personal development, relationships, or career pursuits. It's through these falls that we learn our most valuable lessons. Failure teaches us to look inward and examine our assumptions, our methods, and our goals. It forces us to confront our limitations and challenges us to step beyond our comfort zones. When things don't go as expected, we're often pushed to reconsider our approach, adjust our mindset, and rework our strategy. Without failure, there would be little opportunity for real change or innovation. Success, after all, is not a straight line from point A to point B. It's a series of twists, turns, and yes, falls along the way. When we embrace failure as part of the journey, we stop seeing it as a roadblock. Instead, we start to see it as a teacher. Each failure carries with it valuable insights about who we are and what we truly want. It offers us the chance to redefine our goals, recalibrate our actions, and become better versions of ourselves. We learn that falling doesn't mean we're defeated, but that we're willing to take risks, to stretch beyond what is comfortable, and to grow. The key to embracing failure is shifting our perspective on it. Rather than viewing it as a negative or something to be avoided, we can view failure as an opportunity to grow, learn, and adapt. This shift in mindset is crucial because it allows us to become more resilient in the face of setbacks. When we expect failure as part of the process, we can approach each challenge with more grace, less fear, and a deeper sense of trust in ourselves. Through embracing failure, we also begin to let go of perfectionism. Perfectionism often prevents us from trying new things or taking risks because we're afraid of failing. But perfection is an illusion, and failure is a far more reliable teacher than success ever could be. It's in the moments when things don't go according to plan that we have the chance to learn, to reflect, and to try again with newfound wisdom. This wisdom is what eventually leads to success, not because we avoided failure, but because we faced it, learned from it, and used it to propel ourselves forward. By embracing failure as part of the journey, we create a mindset that is more resilient, adaptable, and open to the lessons that life has to offer. Each fall becomes less of a setback and more of a stepping stone toward greater understanding and personal growth. The more we embrace failure, the less afraid we become of it, and the more willing we are to take on new challenges. Ultimately, it is this willingness to fall, to rise, and to keep moving forward that leads to the most meaningful success. Resilience is often thought of as the ability to bounce back from adversity, to stand strong in the face of hardship. But true resilience is not just about overcoming challenges, it's about how we relate to those challenges in the first place. It's about acceptance, accepting that life is not always going to unfold the way we plan, that setbacks are inevitable, and that struggles are part of the human experience. Only when we fully accept the reality of our circumstances can we truly begin to build the resilience needed to rise from them. Acceptance does not mean resignation or passivity. It's not about giving up or abandoning hope. Instead, it's about acknowledging the present moment for what it is, without resistance, denial, or wishful thinking. When we accept what is happening, we stop wasting energy fighting against reality and begin to work with it. This shift in perspective allows us to stop being at war with our circumstances and to start responding to them in a more constructive, grounded way. For example, when a woman faces a difficult situation, be it a personal loss, a professional setback, or an emotional struggle, acceptance allows her to stop blaming herself or others. She doesn't waste time asking why me, or wishing things were different. Instead, she embraces the fact that this is where she is right now, and from that place of acceptance she can begin to move forward. It's from this space that resilience is born, because acceptance allows us to step into the moment fully, without distraction, and to face what lies ahead with clarity and composure. Resilience through acceptance is also about letting go of perfectionism. Life is messy. Things don't always go according to plan. We may not achieve everything we hoped for, and we may experience unexpected difficulties. Rather than seeing these challenges as failures or reasons to feel inadequate, acceptance teaches us that imperfection is part of the process. When we accept the imperfections in ourselves and our lives, we stop seeing setbacks as signs of personal weakness. Instead, we begin to view them as opportunities for growth. Resilience is not about being perfect in our responses to adversity, but about continuing to try to adjust and to move forward, despite our imperfections. Acceptance also deepens our understanding of ourselves. It invites us to sit with our emotions, however uncomfortable they may be, without judgment or avoidance. We may feel sadness, anger, fear, or frustration in difficult times. But through acceptance, we don't suppress or deny these emotions. We allow ourselves to experience them fully, understanding that emotions are natural reactions to life's challenges. This is an important part of resilience because it's not about avoiding pain or difficulty, it's about allowing ourselves to feel it, and from that place of honesty and openness, finding the strength to rise again. True resilience grows from this deep, unconditional acceptance of what is. It's an internal shift that allows us to become more present, more adaptable, and more at peace with life's unpredictable nature. Through acceptance, we stop struggling against the flow of life and instead learn to move with it, trusting that we have the strength to weather whatever comes our way. Adversity has a unique way of stripping away the layers of comfort and certainty that we often rely on to define who we are. When life challenges us, whether through hardship, loss, failure, or struggle, we are forced to confront ourselves in ways that smooth, easy circumstances never would. In the face of difficulty, we often discover parts of ourselves that we were unaware of, aspects of our character, resilience, and strengths that we might never have tapped into had life been more predictable or comfortable. It is through adversity that self-discovery is often at its most profound. When we encounter adversity, we are pushed out of our comfort zones and into a state of vulnerability. In those moments, we are forced to examine not just the external circumstances, but our internal beliefs, fears, and desires. Who are we when things don't go as planned? Who are we when we are stripped of the superficial markers of success, wealth, or achievement? It's easy to think we know who we are when everything is going well. But adversity tests that sense of self. It forces us to look deeper, to ask the tough questions, and to face parts of ourselves that we might have been avoiding. For instance, when faced with a personal crisis, such as the loss of a loved one or a career setback, we may initially feel lost or overwhelmed. We may even question our worth, our purpose, or our ability to overcome the challenges ahead. But as we navigate through the pain and uncertainty, we begin to uncover layers of strength, determination, and perseverance that we didn't know we possessed. In the midst of difficulty, we often find ourselves tapping into a deeper well of courage, a courage that comes not from being unaffected by adversity, but from being willing to face it, to move through it, and to learn from it. Self-discovery in adversity also involves the realization of our vulnerabilities. It's in these times of hardship that we are often forced to confront our deepest fears and weaknesses. At first, this can feel disempowering, but over time, it is through acknowledging our vulnerabilities that we can begin to heal and grow. By accepting that we are not invincible, that we are not immune to pain or failure, we learn to embrace our humanity. We learn to be kinder to ourselves, to allow ourselves the space to feel and to grow without judgment. Furthermore, adversity often reveals our values and priorities. When we are faced with challenges, we are forced to make choices and decisions that reflect what truly matters to us. The superficial distractions of daily life fade away, and we are left with the essentials: relationships, purpose, meaning. These moments of self-discovery can lead to profound changes in how we view the world and our place in it. We may find that what we once thought was important no longer holds the same weight, or we may gain a clearer sense of what we want to pursue moving forward. Ultimately, self-discovery in adversity is not about finding perfection or having all the answers. It is about learning to navigate the unknown with honesty, courage, and authenticity. Through our struggles, we become more in tune with who we are beneath the surface, more aware of our own resilience, and more compassionate toward ourselves and others. Adversity teaches us that we are not defined by our circumstances, but by our ability to learn, adapt, and grow through them. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. We are taught to protect ourselves from being exposed, to keep our emotions in check, and to present a version of ourselves that is strong and unflinching. Yet true growth does not occur in the absence of vulnerability. It is through embracing our vulnerabilities, our fears, doubts, imperfections, and uncertainties that we find the space for real transformation. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we step into a place of openness and authenticity. We let go of the masks we wear to protect ourselves from the world and from judgment, and we allow our true selves to be seen. This act of being seen, in its raw and unguarded form, can be both terrifying and liberating. But it is only in this place of openness that we can begin to grow. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open the door to deeper connections, both with others and with ourselves. Growth through vulnerability requires courage, for it means allowing ourselves to experience discomfort and uncertainty. It means admitting that we don't have all the answers, that we don't always know what we're doing, and that we too struggle. This can feel like a paradox. Vulnerability seems to expose our weaknesses, but in doing so, it actually allows us to discover our strengths. When we acknowledge our imperfections, we become more resilient because we stop expecting ourselves to be perfect. We learn to embrace our flaws as part of our humanity, and in doing so, we give ourselves permission to grow and evolve. In relationships, vulnerability is the foundation of connection. It is when we show our true selves, when we allow others to see our fears and dreams, that we create the space for genuine intimacy. Vulnerability fosters trust, because it demonstrates our willingness to be open and real, even when it feels risky. It is through these authentic exchanges that we learn from one another, share experiences, and support each other in our growth. Without vulnerability, relationships remain shallow, surface-level interactions. It is in the depth of vulnerability that true emotional growth happens, both individually and collectively. Vulnerability also provides the fertile ground for self-discovery. When we stop hiding behind our defenses and face our fears head-on, we begin to understand ourselves on a much deeper level. We start to recognize the sources of our anxiety, the roots of our insecurities, and the beliefs that have shaped our lives. By confronting these aspects of ourselves, we gain insight into who we truly are and what we need to heal and grow. It is in this process of facing our vulnerabilities that we begin to make lasting changes in our mindset and behavior. Moreover, vulnerability invites us to take risks and to step into the unknown. Growth rarely happens in a place of comfort. It is in the moments when we take the leap, when we put ourselves out there despite the fear of failure or rejection, that we begin to stretch and expand. Vulnerability challenges us to trust the process, to embrace uncertainty, and to let go of control. It is through these risks that we discover new strengths, new possibilities, and new aspects of ourselves that we might never have known existed. Ultimately, Growth through vulnerability is about embracing the full spectrum of human experience, the highs and the lows, the successes and the failures, the moments of strength and the moments of strength, and the moments of weakness. It is through allowing ourselves to be vulnerable that we open the door to transformation, to deeper connections, and to a more authentic way of living. In the end, it is not in avoiding vulnerability, but in embracing it, that we find our true potential and the capacity to grow. Trusting in life's process is perhaps one of the most challenging yet transformative things we can do. It requires a deep surrender to the unfolding of our lives, an acknowledgement that not everything is within our control, and an acceptance that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. The process of life is not always linear or predictable. It is filled with twists and turns, moments of progress and setbacks, success and failure. Yet, when we trust in this process, we open ourselves up to the possibility of growth, peace and wisdom, even when things don't go as planned. Life has a rhythm to it, a flow that moves beyond our understanding, one that operates on its own timetable. When we fight against this flow, when we try to force things to happen according to our own desires and expectations, we create unnecessary resistance. We lose sight of the natural timing of life, which is often far more wise than our hurried plans. Trusting in life's process means recognizing that everything has its moment, and that even when things don't unfold as we imagine, there is a greater design at work. This doesn't mean we stop trying or stop striving. Rather, it means we stop trying to control every outcome and allow ourselves to be guided by the unfolding journey. One of the most important aspects of trusting life's process, accepting uncertainty. Life is inherently unpredictable, and despite our best efforts to plan, we can never truly know what tomorrow will bring. And trusting in the process requires us to let go of our need for certainty and to embrace the unknown. It's in this space of uncertainty that growth occurs. The things we fear most, change, loss, failure, are often the very things that lead us to deeper wisdom and understanding. We learn to trust ourselves in the path we are on, even when it feels unclear or uncertain. This trust also invites us to develop patience. We live in a world that thrives on instant gratification, but life does not always operate at the pace we desire. We may want to achieve something or find success right now, but often life has its own timeline, one that we must respect. Patience becomes a form of trust because it teaches us that the things we want, the things we need, will come when the time is right. It's not about waiting passively, but about trusting that our efforts, no matter how small, are contributing to a greater purpose, even if we can't see it at the moment. Trusting life's process also involves embracing the challenges and struggles that inevitably arise. It is easy to trust when things are going well, but what about when everything seems to fall apart? Life's struggles are often the very experiences that shape us into who we are meant to become. In the midst of hardship, it can be difficult to see the value of the struggle, but trust tells us that everything we go through has meaning. These challenges push us to evolve, to reconsider our values, and to emerge stronger and wiser on the other side. Trusting in the process means understanding that pain and struggle are not punishments, but invitations to grow. To trust in life's process is also to trust in our own capacity to navigate it. It is recognizing that, while we may not always have control over what happens to us, we have control over how we respond. This trust is an act of faith, not in some external force, but in our own resilience, our ability to adapt, and our capacity to learn from every experience. Life's process may not always be easy, but through trust we develop the confidence that we can handle whatever comes our way and that we are constantly being shaped for something greater. Empowerment in rising again is one of the most profound expressions of human strength and resilience. It is not simply about overcoming the challenges we face, but about the deeper transformation that happens each time we get back up after a fall. Life will inevitably bring us to our knees, whether through failure, loss, rejection, or hardship. But it is in our ability to rise again that we discover our true power. Rising is not just a physical act, it is a spiritual, emotional, and mental rebirth, a reclaiming of ourselves after every setback. The act of rising is a declaration of self-worth. When we face difficulty, it can sometimes feel as though life has taken something from us, whether it's our confidence, our sense of direction, or our peace of mind. In those moments, rising becomes an act of reclamation. By choosing to rise again, we affirm that we are not defined by our challenges, nor are we bound by the pain of our past. We are instead defined by our ability to rise, to learn, to adapt, and to move forward with new wisdom. It is this sense of self-empowerment that makes rising so powerful. It is the moment we choose to take our power back. Each time we rise, we do so with greater understanding and more resilience than before. The first fall may be filled with shock and disbelief, but every subsequent rise comes with a deeper understanding of who we are and what we are capable of. We begin to see the value in our struggles, recognizing that each setback, while painful, brings lessons that strengthen us. In this way, empowerment through rising is not about avoiding pain or difficulty. It is about transforming that pain into growth, turning each fall into a stepping stone on the path toward greater strength. Rising also involves letting go of fear. Fear often holds us back from moving forward after we've experienced failure or hardship. The fear of failing again, the fear of being hurt, or the fear of facing something unknown can paralyze us. But true empowerment comes when we release that fear and choose to rise anyway. Rising is an act of courage. It is the willingness to step forward even when we don't know what lies ahead. Each time we rise, we conquer a little more of the fear that once held us back, and in doing so, we expand our capacity to face whatever comes next with confidence. The act of rising again is also a process of renewal. It is a moment where we shake off the dust of our past and allow ourselves to be reborn. When we rise after a fall, we get to choose who we want to be in that moment. We can choose to carry forward the wisdom we've gained, the strength we've developed, and the understanding we've attained. Or we can choose to carry forward the same habits, the same patterns, and the same fears that once held us back. Empowerment in rising is about making the conscious decision to evolve, to leave behind what no longer serves us, and to embrace a version of ourselves that is stronger, wiser, and more aligned with who we are becoming. Rising is also an act of hope. It is a belief in the possibility of a better tomorrow, even when the present feels overwhelming. By rising again, we affirm that no matter how dark the circumstances may seem, there is always a way forward. It is this hope, this belief in possibility, that fuels the energy to rise again. Each time we rise, we renew our belief in ourselves and in the future, knowing that we are not defined by our falls, but by the way we rise after them.